weeks ago was the high holy holiday called Yom Kippur. And on this holiday, members of the Jewish faith in synagogue, on this particular day, you engage the Lord that all of your sins be erased and eradicated from the previous year. Request for a great upcoming 12 months. And at sundown, right before the gates to heaven are about to close after fasting all day, now is the time to ask God for any last wishes. And I did. Lord, I have been on the air for over a year and have never had a Democrat, let alone a Jewish Democrat, on my show, willing to come on in the studio or on phone and do battle. Well, the Lord has, lo and behold, answered my request in a big way. Yes, I got us one, and a big wig at that. Besides, my go-to guy, Peter Mimo, former South Florida Congressman Peter Deutsch from the citrus state, is on the line. Mr. Deutsch, a U.S. representative from Broward Country, who served from 1992 to 2004, is with us for the next hour. For 50 years, a sworn Democrat that this past week has endorsed Donald Trump. Yes, I said it. Former President Donald J. Trump to be the next president of the United States, proclaiming the electing of Vice President Kamala Harris would jeopardize the security of the United States and Israel. This man is out of a coma finally, just in time. So, Peter, put the watchdog in front of the door. Lock the door. We ain't letting this guy off the phone. Let's put on the gloves, Peter, and dissect this loving of a guest like we did a high school biology class years ago. Yes, you have tuned into the Barry Sable Show with friends. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning. Peter Deutsch, welcome to the city of brotherly love. I can only wish good luck to you for the next hour. Thanks for joining the Barry Sable Show with friends. How are you, Mr. Deutsch? We don't have him yet, Kurt? Now we're getting him. So, Peter, E-A-G-L-E-S-E. How's that, Peter? I messed that one. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. Peter, Mimo. We don't have Peter Deutsch yet.
I think we do. I think Peter's on the phone now.
I don't think so. He's getting them.
All right. In the meantime, the Eagles, we just came up the elevator with Hugh Douglas.
Yes.
He gave us the whole scouting report.
Yep.
Now, there's a massive human being right there. I wouldn't want to have to keep him off the quarterback. I don't know how you block guys like that. I guess you get bigger guys than that, but I don't know where you would find one.
An icon,
and the nicest guy in the world, by the way.
An icon in Philly.
All right, I think we have Peter.
Peter Deutsch, do we have you?
Barry, you got me, Barry.
Yes, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you had an opportunity to listen to my monologue, but still, we have you. Go ahead, Peter Mimo. Sound off.
Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome Peter to the show. It's a big treat for us whenever we can get a guest on.
Yes.
For spend some time with us. I did catch your interview on I think it was Fox and Friends First.
Yes.
I thought it was really intelligent. I thought it was well put together, and I'm glad to have a guy like you on our team.
Well, no, listen, I'm happy to do what I'm doing. I feel proud of it, and I think we're making a difference.
I mean, that's huge. Now, with all the things going on, we only have an hour on this show, and an hour in radio is really 47 or 48 minutes.
Yep.
So we have to we had prepared a couple of questions because a lot of our listeners ask us about the Jewish vote, and they wonder, it's kind of a phenomenon with all the goings on right now, not to mention the border inflation and some of those things, the World War. Our administration's position with Israel, it's just hard to explain why Jewish people are staying in the Democratic Party, and I kind of wonder about that. And what was your epiphany moment to say, "Hey, listen, I'm no longer going to go along with this plan"?
First off, let me tell you, I'm still a Democrat, but I'm doing everything I possibly can to help Donald Trump get elected president. So I think everyone goes through a process in their brain about who they're going to vote for president. To me, the most important thing the president does is try to achieve and maintain peace in the world. You look at the 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, we had peace, we had prosperity, we had no wars. You look at the 4 years of Harris-Biden, and literally you have wars, you have death, you have destruction. There is nothing clearer than, in terms of their policies, why the difference.
So, Peter, let me ask you a question. It's Barry now. That was Peter Mimo, my sidekick here. So why would you stay loyal to the Democratic Party with all that you just said?
Well, I first off, I'll tell you, hope springs eternal. Okay, I'm not ready to make that leap yet. And there are some issues where, I feel more comfortable with the traditional Democratic agenda. And, I hope that, especially after this loss on November 5th, maybe there'll be sort of a come to Jesus moment on the Democratic Party. I mean, I remember, the caucus defeat. I mean, I remember like it was today in terms of the change in the Democratic Party after that. And so, I think the sort of Scoop Jackson Democratic Party, Daniel Moynihan Democratic Party is a party that I can be active and be, a leader in again. And I'm not sure that that's not going to happen. I have not written off the Democratic Party at this point.
Well, I'm going to come to that in a minute. That I'm going to save for the third quarter. So my question is your switch. Why, after all this time, after all the injustice and pain to Israel and America, why haven't you, Tulsi Gabbard, and other people, call it Kennedy, switched before? What took so long? What epiphany did you have and they have? I almost feel, Peter, like people are on the Titanic and they see the ship is sinking and they're looking for a life raft or a lifeboat.
Well,
help me.
But I don't think it's a lifeboat, but for everyone, it's a different point. I think I heard Robert Kennedy when he made the announcement with President Trump, and I've heard him speak, and obviously he's an extraordinarily articulate person and feels very, very deeply, about supporting President Trump at this point in time. And Tulsi Gabbard also, I've listened to her, throughout her whole career, and I think, part of the reason why Tulsi Gabbard is supporting President Trump, and actually interesting, I don't know if you saw the clip last night, but a bunch of Muslims and Arabs in Detroit are supporting President Trump because, you know what, they don't want war. I mean, they don't. The American Muslims and Arabs that live in Detroit and Dearborn and those places, most of them don't want war. They might have a very different perspective, about the outcome, the final status in Israel, but they don't want to see people killed, relatives of theirs. And you know what, President Trump, again, obviously we won't know, but you can make a pretty darn good case that neither the war in Ukraine or the war in the Middle East would have occurred on President Trump's watch.
Let me say this much, Peter, before we continue. Tulsi Gabbard is with Miss Rhymes today, I believe at 11 o'clock at the 2300 block of Swanson. I think it's called the 2300 Arena. So for those that are interested, they could wander down there and see Miss Tulsi. So I guess really the point why I was so excited to have you on with us this morning is I want my listeners to understand the psyche of a Democrat today, especially one, of course, of the Jewish faith. What bothers me, Peter, is I'm coming to the studio this morning, and on the expressway, it talks about abortion, and what's next? Abortion control. So my question, I guess, of major concern that I have is yesterday I listened to Michelle Obama. And she was at the rally for Kamala Harris. And all she did is talk about abortion. So I guess my question to you is, other than abortion and computer chips, what is your party doing, Peter? I don't get it. Help me.
Well, first of all, let me tell you again, it's the Harris campaign which has crashed. I mean, if you listen to the Fox interview that I gave, I mentioned this and people was sort of laughing. But when I first came to Pennsylvania, which is a couple weeks ago at this point, the Trump campaign was concerned, are we going to win by 100 votes? Are we going to win by 1,000 votes? I'm telling you now, I see it every day. I think it's possible that Donald Trump wins Pennsylvania by 100,000 votes. I mean, this, her campaign, has crashed, is crashing, it's going even worse. In 40 years as an elected official, I mean, I've actually thought about this. In 40 years as an elected official or 40 years involved in politics, she is the most inauthentic person I've ever seen running for office. And that includes school board, that includes local city commissions. I mean, she, every time she opens her mouth, I mean, it hurts her. And I think we're at the point now where her closing argument was, Trump is Hitler. Well, you know what?
Are you insulted by that, Peter? You're a Jew. I'm insulted by that. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I also think it's like, wow, they're desperate. I mean, the reality is, it's just, let me just, the visuals, the day that she announced that, I think might have been the same day or the day after Trump spoke at the Al Smith dinner in New York.
Yes.
And he's literally next to Chuck Schumer, and the two of them are laughing throughout the dinner. They're back, they're hugging each other basically. Michael Bloomberg is sitting in front of him. The Cardinal, in New York is there. If he was Adolf Hitler, you think they'd be hanging out with him? I mean
no, but here's my problem. Peter, I'm with you, but here's my problem, Peter. And to be honest with you, when people that are dummied down, when you have a lot of people that are not involved in politics, they go to work during the day, they come home to their families and kids, they're not watching politics and TV all the time, and they hear this kind of rhetoric that Donald Trump or anybody else for all that matters, and we'll just say him, is a Hitler and a fascist. And people hear it over and over and over. They start to believe it. So my question is, how could any, and I'll ask again if I may, how could any Jewish person today in their right mind, my answer as a Jew is they don't care about Judaism and they don't care about their homeland, Israel. And that upsets me. And I call people out on that, Peter, and I'm asking you to help call people out too, because I know it has to upset you.
I believe this, and I really do believe it sincerely, that I think it's any person. Obviously, she's not going to get 0 votes. But I literally believe that if you had enough time for any person to actually think through the differences between the candidates, I mean, I almost feel like 100% of the people that you would talk to would come to the same conclusion that Donald Trump is better for the country and better for them personally. And like you said, I mean, I'm trying to avoid you. So let me get back to your question about abortion. I remember when I was in law school, they used to have an expression: when you have the facts on your side, you argue the facts. When you have the law on your side, you argue the law. And when you have nothing, you just pound the table. And so I think at this point, her campaign is at the point where they have nothing on their side, so they just pound the table. I think you really are seeing a campaign, a desperate campaign, because they're looking at the same numbers. I mean, I looked at this morning. Anyone, listening can do it themselves. They go online, because I check every morning, in terms of publicly available data points. And I will tell you, there's a chart which was the starkest thing I saw this morning. I mean, this is collective polling data. Her unfavorables, or her favorable, literally fell off a cliff. I mean, just fell off a cliff and it hasn't stopped. Because I think, you had the sort of, joy moment when, people were excited that, you got rid of Biden and she got through that. But when people start hearing her, I mean, forget the inauthenticity. I mean, which is probably as important as any other issue when when you're running for office, any office. Like I said, school board, city commission, whatever it is, people want the real deal. They don't want someone who's just going to bullshit them. I mean, it's not any debate, any interview that she's given. I mean, it's almost cringeworthy.
Yeah.
I mean, her responses. I mean, it's bizarre. And let me just tell you, there's a reason why Barack Obama did not want her to be the nominee. I mean, anyone who follows this, saw, through his own words, or through David Axelrod, who's really his spokesman. I mean, he said, no, we got to have a convention, a mini convention, to decide who's going to be the nominee. And he was the last one who came and supported her, foot and drag. What you're seeing is a reason why they're primaries. What you're seeing is a reason why they have elections.
Yeah.
I mean, this woman can't stand up to scrutiny. I mean, it's embarrassing that this is the best candidate the Democrats could get.
Well, we're going to talk about that. Hold on one
great.
second, both Peters. We are up against the break. You are listening to the Barry Sable Show with friends with Peter Deutsch and Peter Mimo. We will see you on the other side.
This is an important notice to all U.S. taxpayers. The IRS is giving away billions of dollars in tax savings through a federal program called the Fresh Start Initiative to aid delinquent taxpayers. This initiative was established for anyone facing financial hardship and unable to pay their back taxes. Qualifying and enrolling in this program will stop all collections, settle your delinquent tax problem, and even reduce what you owe by thousands of dollars. Call the hotline at People's Tax Relief to see if you qualify and get this free information by dialing 800-727-9105. If you have unfiled tax returns or cannot afford to pay your personal or business back taxes, you can now get the help you need. One simple phone call can resolve your tax problem and save you thousands of dollars. To see if you qualify and to get this important free information, call 800-727-9105. 800-727-9105. 800-727-9105.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Enjoy all the NFL action with a chance to win on FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge Casino, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win a bet on a game this week. My favorite feature on the app, though, is the parlay. I love the parlay. Eagles playing the Bengals this week. Joe Burrow due over passing yards. A.J. Brown, anytime touchdown, you got to go with him. Jalen Hurts maybe under on the passing. Just visit FanDuel.com/Dom, D-O-M, to make every moment more this season. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official partner of 1210 WPHT. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You have to be 21 plus and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
After suffering an injury, you may face many hard questions. What will tomorrow bring? Which firm should I choose to represent me and my family? At Morgan & Morgan, we will hold your hand every step of the way. From our one-click sign-up, mobile apps, and 24/7 availability, we make it easy to get your case started right from the comfort of your couch. All firms are not the same. Injured? The choice is easy. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
At PGW, safety is essential to delivering clean, reliable natural gas to Philadelphia homes and businesses. If you smell gas, call PGW at 215-235-1212.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the relief hotline at 800-525-8448. 800-525-8448. 800-525-8448.
The 2024 presidential election is here. With the race neck and neck and with so much at stake, MSNBC has the in-depth coverage and analysis you need. Our reporters are on the ground, and we're breaking down the numbers until every last vote is counted, providing you with insight on what it all means for the future of our country. Watch coverage of the 2024 presidential election Tuesday, November 5th, and listen to MSNBC Live on the free Odyssey app or wherever you watch MSNBC.
Hey girl, it's your new night guy, Jimmy Fallon in the house from 7 to 10 p.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and free on the Odyssey app.
Yes, indeedy, we are back. Let me see if I could get it right. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. Online with me, former Congressman of Florida, Peter Doy sitting in the studio with me. It's Peter Mimo. Peter Mimo, fire away.
Hey, Peter. I hear you loud and clear with Kamala. I mean, to me, she's just vapid in terms of her, policy direction. They ask her policies. She says, go to my website. I mean, a candidate should be able to hammer home her policies at any time, at any moment, in any situation. But the media protects this lady, and without that media protection, she would be shown to be, very shallow and very empty. But unfortunately, she does get that media protection.
Your question, sir, Peter. You had a question.
My question.
She never would have talked to anyone if her polling data didn't indicate she was going down.
Yeah.
And I've seen exactly what you're saying, and everyone has, I guess, their pet peeve. Her position is she, has agreed and she wants to pay for gender changes for people in prison and for illegal immigrants. And when Bret Baier asked her that question, I don't know if you watched the Bret Baier interview.
I did.
It was the most ridiculous answer, and it's the reason why people hate politicians. Yep. I mean, it was her response. She couldn't say yes or no, even though that's her position, because she knew saying yes, was terrible politically, and no was just not factual, and he would pull something up saying how she's supported. So literally, she kept repeating, "Well, I'm just following the law. I'm just following the law. Say your position."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Full of it.
And that's a nice thing about Trump. You don't have to worry about where he's at. He's right out there on all these positions, and then the media tries to twist and contort that. And let me ask you a question about Pennsylvania, and we really appreciate your efforts here. That's where we're located. We know a lot about the elections. I've been voting in Pennsylvania elections for a long, long time, I guess going back to Ronald Reagan. We lost by 1.2% in the last election. The Jewish vote in Pennsylvania, let's say it's somewhere around 3%. Can the Jewish vote turn Pennsylvania red and put it in Trump's column?
That's the reason I've been in Pennsylvania since October 7th. All right, and I'm going to be there till November 6th. I love Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful state. I actually went to college at Swarthmore for 4 years. So, and I've mentioned this before. I mean, my other connection to Pennsylvania now is that when I was in Congress, Josh Shapiro actually worked in my office for a couple of years. I think Pennsylvania's as good a state and maybe a better state than anyone. It's the best Commonwealth in the country for sure. But Pennsylvania is ground zero. I mean, if you look at the data online, for whatever reason, mathematically, whoever wins Pennsylvania, more than any other 6 swing states, has a dramatic probability in terms of who's going to win. But I will tell you again, at this point, I don't think it's going to be that close. I mean, you have to assume it's still going to be that close, and you have to do GOTV efforts. But originally, I'm not exaggerating. I was talking to one person at a time almost.
Yeah.
When someone told me they had an uncommitted friend, I'll still do it. But I mean, I literally felt to myself, all right, if Trump loses by 1 vote, if I don't talk to this person, I'm going to feel really guilty and terrible.
Right.
And so, I think though that there are still, there's a lot of Democratic Jewish voters like me, who traditionally and never voted for a Republican in their life. Okay, and definitely, Donald Trump has said things that they don't like, and there's people like Fetterman, who's been absolutely perfect on what happened.
Yes, he has.
In terms of, he said something great again this morning. I actually saw it this morning. You can't get better than John Fetterman in terms of what he's saying. But even John Fetterman, and again, I think he's got a real feel for your state. People saying, well, if she's so bad on Israel, then why is Josh Shapiro and why is John Fetterman supporting her and other people? And there's a reason. You know what? They're Democrats. I mean, and they're elected Democrats. And Josh Shapiro wants to be president. And if he didn't support Kamala Harris, he would have zero chance of being president. So Peter, I think that. Go ahead.
As far as Josh Shapiro is concerned, how does it make any common sense that Kamala Harris wouldn't pick Josh, who I know? He was my ward leader. He was my county commissioner. He was my state rep. He votes at the same precinct, the same ward that I vote in Montgomery County. How could they not pick Josh? I mean, he had all the right tools to fill out her her platform. Why would she not
Well,
pick
listen, I think
Peter, hold on, Peter. Before you answer that, in my mind, it's like having two children that are overboard and you have to throw one life raft to one. How could that guy possibly endorse at being a Democrat, knowing again it's that this party right now, Peter, both Peters, is against Israel to a certain degree. We both all know this, and we could get to that hopefully. But I think that that's the reason why. I don't think she could have picked him.
But even
and if
without
and if he's interested in his, I hate to say it, his religion, there's no way that he could support what she's doing now.
But I mean,
Peter.
even religion.
People rationalize. People rationalize. He says to himself, and he's got a legitimate chance of being president of the United States in 2024. I mean, he really does. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he rationalizes, well, you know what? She's not really that bad. And, if I'm president, I can do a lot more. I mean, it's the same thing like Chuck Schumer and other people. Chuck Schumer, I think, is better than what he's acted. But, he's the leader of 51 senators, Democratic senators, half of who are anti-Israel at this point.
That's right.
I mean, at different degrees. And if he wants to stay in his leader position, so he rationalizes, you know what, I can do so much good as the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. You know what? A cognitive dissonance is a really strong thing. But going back to not picking Josh Shapiro, when they write, the history books of this election, they're going to focus on that because that was the most important decision as a candidate is, who you pick for vice president. That's about as bad a decision as any elected official has ever made.
Yep.
I mean, and Pennsylvania again mathematically is by far the most important state. Especially if it was going to be close. I mean, he could have made the difference in Pennsylvania, but I think the conventional wisdom is correct. He is not woke. I mean, he might not have been as strong as a lot of people want, but he's definitely not. This guy Waltz. This guy Waltz. I mean, is an ideological ally of Kamala Harris. Some people forget this, but again, it's been focused a little bit. In the United States Senate, when she was a senator, there's independent rating groups that rate senators, liberal to conservative. She was consistently either the 99th or the 100th most left member of the United States Senate in terms of her votes. Now, again, she's been running away from that because she knows you can't get elected president there, but that's who she was. And she validated, that world, when she picked Waltz. I mean, if you remember the Clinton campaign, probably the biggest turning point was his, they call it the Sister Soul moment. When basically he said, "Hey, I'm going to stand up to these people,"
Peter, I'm with you. Not to interrupt, but I got to tell you something, Peter. You know why I'm on the air? Because I throw strikes, and I have to tell you, and I mean this, and this is not to crash on my people, because I love being what I am. Bernie Sanders, Nadler, Schumer, like you mentioned. What kind of Jews are these that support what's going on today? You just said it. Schumer is ahead of the Democratic Party there, and he's endorsing what's happening with Israel and worse, what's happening with America today. That's upsetting. Andrew Dice Clay years ago, I'm on the air, so I can't really say what I want to say, said you either do or you don't. So therefore, you can't be in both parties. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm really disappointed today, Peter. And I'm glad to see that you, through some means, have an epiphany and said, I had enough of this. This isn't right. I'm glad to see that. And I got to tell you, do you know why I come on the air? Because we are here not to tell people how to vote, but to shed light. And what you're doing this morning is shedding light, because if we have 10 or 15 or 20,000 people listening, and they go back to 20,000 people and say something, and at a dinner table, maybe you can make a difference. And that's really why I wanted you on the air, Peter.
I appreciate that.
But I got to go back to one thing. I have to, we vote for faith in our elected politicians, honesty and integrity. This Democratic Party kicked Joe Biden to the curb. There was no primary election for that. They rigged the Hillary Clinton situation. How could anybody, you mention it, have integrity for politicians when they're not following democracy? This lady had not one vote, and they kicked this man to the curb. Your thoughts on that?
And I think write the history of this. And I've actually said this from day one when they got rid of Joe Biden. I mean, as problematic as he was as a candidate, I think he was a better candidate than her. I mean,
well, he's asleep. He's asleep.
No,
you don't believe he's running the country, do you, Peter?
Even if he's asleep, you know what? I think as a candidate, he does. I mean, he's run for office. He's won primaries. I mean, and again, even if he's asleep and he's not even there, I mean, I think he was a better candidate than her. I mean, which is a statement of just how bad a candidate she really is.
Well, let me ask you a question. Everybody from the Democratic Party is saying, we want Donald Trump to take a competency test. That man never took a competency test. And come on, we all know that I had a parent that had Alzheimer's. I know the signs, I know the symptoms, and so does everybody else. The man is cognitively impaired right now, and we know that. But here's a guy running the country. You got to admit, and honestly, as a Democrat, we're now in two wars, and who knows what else is going to happen. The economy is turned upside down. The border is a disgrace. We have gangs roving our streets. We have all kind of crime going on, inflation. It's hard to believe that anybody could stay a Democrat if they love America. I'm trying to convert you little by little to independent, and they get you to the right side, Peter. I'm going to get you there.
I'm going to throw out a crazy idea to you, okay? November 6th, Joe Biden resigns and Kamala Harris becomes president until January 20th. Okay, you heard it here first. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Boys, it looks like we're up against the break. Time is flying. Peter, don't you go anywhere. We're only beginning. We're in the third inning with you.
Perspective. I have not heard anybody mention that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that either.
That piques my interest.
Peter Deutsch, thank you for staying with us. Don't you go anywhere. You are listening to the Barry Sable Show with friends. We will see you right after the break.
Natural disasters happen every year. Fires, hurricanes, tornadoes. And with that, your most important moments recorded on VHS, camcorder tapes, and 8mm could all be gone in an instant. Cherished moments like your wedding, baby's first steps, family trips to Yellowstone, lost. Enter Legacy Box. Digitizing your old media with Legacy Box protects your irreplaceable memories from the threat of natural disaster by digitally preserving them onto thumb drive, DVD, or the cloud, so they're safe forever. Legacy Box is the safest and easiest way to preserve your past, which is why it's been trusted by over 1 million families. Send Legacy Box your home movies, photos, and film. Their team of trained professionals will do the rest right here in the U.S. For a limited time, Legacy Box is offering radio listeners an incredible 50% off. Go to legacybox.com/value and save 50% when you digitize your memories. That's legacybox.com/value.
Attention Medicaid patients.
If you're on Medicaid, how would you like if your caretaker was your daughter, your son, your grandchild, or your close friend? If you're on Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care, and that caregiver will get paid instantly after their shift. Yes, your caregiver will get paid instantly, and it's 100% free to you if you are on Medicaid. Call 267-692-3782 and ask Freedom Care how to get started with care today. No more worrying about getting care from an aide at an agency. Freedom Care helps you choose who you want to take care of you, and that person gets paid. Call Freedom Care at 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782 to get started today. You get a caregiver you know and trust, and they get paid instantly after their shift, and it's free to you. Start now by calling 267-692-3782, 267-692-3782, or go to freedomcare.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-837-5050. That's 800-837-5050. 800-837-5050.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros for nearly 30 years, so we know the difference between done and done well. Hire high-quality, certified pros at Angie.com.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Yes, indeedy, we are back with my special guest, Peter Deutsch, former congressman of Florida. Peter Mimo, fire away. You wanted to ask Peter
listen,
something.
First of all, thanks for hanging in there with us on a Sunday morning. We really appreciate it,
Yep.
and I know our listeners do as well.
Yep.
I wanted to follow up on that point that you just made. That nobody has. That's the first time I've heard that, and how can that impact things? And how much control could she get out of making a move like that? You
I don't know. She'll get lifetime Secret Service and a better pension. I mean, and she'll get her picture on. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing out an idea. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's a crazy out of the box thing. But listen, whenever she criticizes, and she does it all the time. I mean, this is the Joy campaign that's become the down low campaign. Every time she speaks now, she says Trump is cognitively impaired, basically. Yeah. And actually, Brett Baer did a pretty good job of this in his interview with her. And he started saying, well, you were with Joe Biden every day, or you're with him basically every day for 3 years, and he actually pulled out the quote saying, oh, he's always the smartest one in the room, and he's running circles around everyone in terms of his questions and his thought process. And you know what, Ms. Harris, maybe your credibility of searching out cognitive impairs is not so good. You didn't say anything about Joe Biden.
That's a good point.
Peter, I agree with you, and let me be honest, and don't you dare take this wrong. If she came on the Barry Sable Show with friends, we would not have let her off the hook. Did we lose Peter?
Yeah. But just follow up with your point.
Let me tell you, well, you'll see if you can get him back. I would not have let her off the hook. And to be honest with you, I know that Brett Baer works for Fox News, and he can't take her to the mat. But I have to tell you the truth. I would have taken her to the mat, because I would not have let her off the hook. You are right. This man is incompetent. When did you notice it? Can I tell you something? And now, all of a sudden, a month before, 70 days, actually 2 months, you're going to decide that he's not there, and you're going to put pressure on him to resign. I don't know, Peter. All of this is, like Peter Mimo says to me all the time, these are all firsts in history. We've never seen anything like it. Do we have Peter back again?
Yeah, I'm back. And I will tell you again, this whole thing, who is a threat to democracy? I mean, I say this absolutely sincerely. I mean, I really say it sincerely. And I say it to my Democratic friends, when they tell me, well, if Donald Trump gets elected, I mean, there are people who believe this. I will tell you, I talked to a friend of mine who's a sitting member of the United States Congress who in absolute sincerity said to me, there's a 75% chance that if Donald Trump gets elected, there's not going to be democracy in America. And I'm telling you, I wish I could place a bet against that. But my response, and I'm absolutely serious, I am more concerned about Kamala Harris getting elected in terms of democracy in America.
Of course,
for real,
Peter.
not as an intellectual exercise, a dialectic. I mean, these are the people. They don't want to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop, but that when Donald Trump says he won the election, you know what? He's not as crazy as some people want to say that he said, in terms of him winning the election. If Hunter Biden's laptop, if Facebook and Google allowed information to be, shared, maybe he would have gotten easily 30,000 additional votes throughout the country, and he would be president right now.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And for me, I don't believe, I've been following political science for a long, long time. Statistics was one of my things in college. I looked at that as election, and it just doesn't follow any statistical norms that we've seen over the elections. And I will never believe, Peter, that Joe Biden from his basement got more black people to vote for him than Barack Obama. I'll never accept that. I don't care what anybody says. It just defies common sense from a political science standpoint. And that's my concern in Pennsylvania. Having witnessed Pennsylvania elections for a long time, I know for a fact that there is let's say some tawdry things that go on. I won't say cheating. Well, maybe I just did.
Yes, you did.
That's my
it's
big
the truth.
concern in this election. And I've stated many times, I don't think the Republican counties should release the results until Philadelphia does, because Philadelphia is always last, and they always come with enough votes to just win.
Listen, I've talked to people, in the Republican Party and attorneys in the Republican Party actually in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. I mean, they're aware of the issues. I mean, and I think that if anything, the Trump campaign, which is, if you think about it, it's $1 billion business that's really a startup.
That's true.
That's a tough thing to do. There's a lot of moving parts, but they are on their game. I mean, they really are. I mean, I'm not saying it's a perfect campaign, because there's nothing perfect, especially a startup. But they're in the zone, and it's actually interesting watching it from a sort of campaign perspective. I mean, the Harris campaign, it's just they're shooting each other. It's a circular firing squad almost at this point. So I based on everything I've seen at this point from the Trump campaign, they are absolutely aware of what you're saying, and they are prepared for it.
Well, I hope you're right. I want to switch gears real quick and talk a little bit about Israel. And, on our show, we constantly every week talk about the hostages. Nobody talks about them on TV, so we talk about them on our show. How do you think the Harris and Biden administrations criticizing of Netanyahu, the public criticizing of him, not sitting in his Senate speech, not having the ambassador at his UN speech.
Yep.
How has that hurt our negotiations to try and get our hostages back?
Listen, I think it is beyond the pale, and it's so tragic in terms of people's lives. The United States is, even under this administration, the United States is Israel's best friend in the world. And when your best friend treats you the way that they have been treating Israel, what do you think the terrorists, what do you think Sinwar was thinking while he was alive? I mean, literally. When Kamala Harris was, every day, talking about it, she wasn't talking about ceasefire. She was talking about the end of the war, a peace agreement with Sinwar. Yeah. That's really what she wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and she still wants it. I mean, and she still wants Hamas to be in charge. Just think of the results. I mean, absolutely, Israel needs to do everything it possibly can to get hostages back, and hopefully, there's more than one that's alive. Yeah. Because at this point in time, but you know what? If the Biden-Harris or the Harris-Biden administration didn't stop Israel from doing things when the war started, I mean, forget that there probably wouldn't have been a war under, President Trump. But once the war started, there's just so many. Almost every day there are these restrictions. I mean, and she's publicly proud of the fact that she withheld weapons from Israel. Literally every day. I mean, I get upset. I almost cry every day when I read what's happened in Israel. I mean, just today, 4 more reserve soldiers died in combat.
Well,
I mean, and each one is a life.
Yep.
Peter,
your heart.
Listen, on the Barry Sable Show, we have what's known as rapid fire. Boys, we only have roughly 10 minutes to go. So let me shoot out quickly and get responses from you, Peter. Peter Deutsch, matter of fact. First time in America history, Department of Justice, as we know what they've done, raid a president's house, cocaine in the White House, Iran documents leaked, hostages not back, no negotiations in Ukraine and Russia. Peter, give me your response to that. Rapid fire, because we've got a ton of stuff to continue with. Go ahead.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the old Crosby Nash.
When Donald Trump, talks about getting, basically indicted and actually convicted in New York, you know what? Anyone who spends the time looking at what happened, he's the first person in the history of the state of New York to be prosecuted for what he did, so-called election interference. We talked about the laptops. Based upon that criteria, every executive in Google and Facebook should be going to jail. Because you talk about real, election interference. What they did was a million orders of magnitude worse than anything that Trump alleged, that he was doing.
Yep.
So, just because, you think someone's going after you doesn't mean they're not going after you.
Corrupt FBI.
You know what?
You like that one, don't you, Peter?
You know what? Again, I'm not an expert, and I can't. I mean,
come on, Peter. You know what they've been doing.
You
Come
saw
on,
the text messages,
huh? Yeah,
you saw the text messages.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Besides that, Secret Service. What another blunder, Peter. Have you ever seen anything like this? This incompetency is incredible.
I mean, listen, it really is, you know, I mean, we see open miracles. I mean, you watch that, you know, that shooting. I mean, and literally, had he not turned his face, we would not be having this conversation.
Yep.
And tragically, I mean, people died from that gunman. I mean, it is an open miracle, just like we see open miracles in terms of what Israel is doing every day.
Yep.
I mean, 200 ballistic missiles. The only one, you know, basically no injuries. The only one to die is a Palestinian in Jericho.
Yeah, that's
I mean, literally,
unbelievable.
And it's an open miracle. So I mean, I am one of those people that really absolutely believe God rules the world. There's a reason why Donald Trump is still alive.
Boy, hold these thoughts. Hold on, Peter Mimo, Peter Tosh. One more break we have. You are listening to the Barry Sable Show with friends. We will see you on the other side.
Got a world of entertainment for you to explore with just one subscription. Sign up today and start watching all the networks you love, like A&E, MTV, Discovery, Lifetime, Hallmark Channel, and so much more. Featuring current seasons of all the best drama, true crime, reality, and family-friendly shows you can't afford to miss. Get started today and unlock our library of over 75,000 movies and shows. And save all your favorites with the unlimited DVR so you can rewatch them anytime, anywhere for up to a year. Philo now includes access to AMC+. You can discover your next obsession from its collection of hit originals like Mad Men, The Walking Dead, Killing Eve, Orphan Black, and tons of blockbuster movies. There are no contracts, no commitments, and no hassles. For just $28 a month, Philo's a better way to watch TV. So what are you waiting for? Visit philo.tv and sign up today to start your 7-day free trial. That's philo.tv.
The following is a paid commercial announcement.
They don't call her Confiscation Kamala for nothing. Don't take it from us.
And I support a mandatory buyback program.
A mandatory buyback program? That means the government forcing you to turn in your firearms. To what lengths would Kamala go? Well, she doesn't even support the individual right to own a firearm.
I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country.
We get it. Sometimes it's tough to understand what she's talking about. But on the Second Amendment and your rights, Confiscation Kamala has been crystal clear. Her gun control agenda comes straight from that petri dish of bad ideas that is California. She can claim to be a gun owner all she wants, but we all know she's the same anti-gun California radical she's always been. Don't be left defenseless. Defeat Confiscation Kamala. Vote Trump like your life depends on it, because it does. NRA Political Victory Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. NRAPVF.org.
Hey, it's Greg with Kale and Company. Enjoy all the NFL action with a chance to win on FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge Casino, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can bet $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if you win a bet on a game for Week 8 in the NFL. Let's look to your Philadelphia Eagles against the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is now 1 o'clock. The Eagles are the underdog in this game at +2.5. I would definitely take the Eagles +2.5 right now, or the under at 49.5. You can bet on all kinds of stuff on this app. There's a parlay hub, popular bets, FanDuel Squares. There's so much you can bet on. It's all right there. FanDuel.com/Greg. Make every moment more this season. FanDuel.com/Greg. Don't forget that /Greg there, GREG. FanDuel Sportsbook is the official partner of 1210 WPHT and the NFL. 21 and over. President, Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Don't miss the Education Show with Dom Giordano every Sunday morning at 5:30. Find out how you can help your child or grandchild succeed. Sponsored by New Hope Academy.
Hey, Ambler. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Follow us anywhere on the free Odyssey app.
Yes, you are listening to the Barry Sable Show with friends. In studio with me is Peter Mimo. My new best friend, Peter Deutsch from Florida, is on the line with us. Go ahead, Peter. First of all, Peter, before I say anything, Our board is lit up with questions for you. You know we're off at 11 o'clock. Peter Deutsch, do you know what a doubleheader is?
Yeah, of course.
A doubleheader is, this is the first game. We have one Sunday left, Peter Deutsch. The lines, I'm telling you, are lit up. What I'm asking, without an answer, is we would love to have you back next Sunday before the election. We have a lot of things. We have to get Dave McCormick and Trump over the finish line. I believe you are the guy to help us. You'll think about that? I'm pushing for you.
I'm happy to do it. Barry, anything I can do to help Donald Trump get elected president, I want to do.
There you go.
I mean, that's great. We love kindred spirits. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Let me ask you a quick question back to Israel. Is it true Trump is the favorite in terms of who the people over there want to win the election?
Oh, my.
And would Bibi win his election if it was held now? Because the media over here makes us think he wouldn't. And is the two-state solution now dead?
Listen, I think a lot of good questions. I mean, first of all, I think there's no question.
Go ahead.
That Donald Trump, everyone, almost universally in Israel would feel much more comfortable for Israel's survival and security if Donald Trump was president. That's number one. Number two, I think that conventional wisdom is Bibi, the success. I mean, and again, you talk about open miracles. I mean, Israel has had beyond incredible success in the last month and a half. I mean, the operation with the pagers, if you think about it, is probably the most successful military operation in the history of the world.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I mean, like literally. I mean, like to put it in any other language, I mean, you literally took out effectively all of the leadership and prevented them from, communicating with each other. Now, again, it's tragic that Israeli soldiers are dying almost on a daily basis, but a lot less than had those actions not been taken, as well as, killing Nasrallah. I mean, Israel has, thank God, sort of been on an incredible roll in success. And just as Netanyahu was the leader on October 7th, he's been the leader the last 6 weeks. So I think, is he rehabilitated? I don't know. The other issue, which is always
Peter Deutsch, hold on 1 second. I am up against it. I have 2 minutes left. I promised a lady who is calling in. I am going to talk to you this week. I don't mean to cut you off. We have 1,000 more questions. You promised to come in. I didn't get a chance to ask what you're doing all week. I know you're doing good things. I want to thank you. I will talk to you after the show, and we'd love to have you, and we will have you next Sunday. Have a successful week promoting Trump, your boy, and McCormick, and we will talk after the show.
Sounds great.
Thank you
so much.
Sir. Thank you so much.
Constant Lee, I promised you. You are my guest. You are live on the air with Uncle Barry. What's on your mind, my friend?
Thank you, Uncle Barry. Can you hear me well?
I can. Go ahead. Fire away. We've got somewhat, basically a minute or so, but I didn't want to deprive you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I know this is a little off topic, but I know you're very concerned about families and children. And
you know I am.
I know you are, so I want to at least get this out there. There's a freedom to read bill that's going to be voted on probably tomorrow in New Jersey.
Yes.
And there's a lot of misunderstanding about it, and it's unfortunate. And this is going to be an issue, and has been an issue in Pennsylvania as well, although I'm not as up to date with
30
where that bill
seconds,
is.
my friend. That's all we have. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Constance. Give it to me.
It's not about book banning. It's not about race, ethnicity, religion. All these things are fine. This is about a small group of books with graphic content so incredible that these are allowed in school libraries. It's not an issue of public library. It's an issue of school libraries because parents are not there to guide their kids.
Constance Lee, good luck with this. I've got 20 seconds to wrap up. I am so sorry. Thanks for calling.
No
I
worries.
wish I had more time.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome. To Peter Mimo, our special guest, Peter Deutsch. Thanks for joining me on this Sunday morning. Philly, on your busy Sunday, grateful to you for spending some serious time with us. You have been listening to the Barry Sable Show with friends. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Have a great week, a healthy week, a safe week. And we will see you next weekend with Peter Deutsch. Thanks for always being there. I appreciate you.
the crowd.